This content is for adults only. Viewer discretion advised. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, like, and share. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another live stream with me, Grizzly. This is Grizzly True Crime, and today we're talking about a case that's, only 30 years old. Damn. And still, the search is ongoing for Kristin Smart's remains. Shame they've never been found, but yet, interestingly, a person was arrested, charged with first-degree murder, convicted, sentenced, and everything in this case, even though it was a no-body case. And I'm just very impressed with everybody all around, from the investigators that are continuing the search for Kristin, to her parents who are, continuing to fight for full justice and obviously finding their daughter, to a podcast called From Your Own Backyard. Wow, who had a huge effect on this case as well. So I've been down a rabbit hole. Thank you to everyone who sent me these updates so that I could have a look at them and I could bring you a good overview, hopefully, right, of this case. And then we could just look at some of the updates that are going on right now, because you just never know when there could be breaking news, even if 30 years later. Tink, thank you for being a member for 15 months. You said thank you for all you do. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys had a good weekend. Happy Monday to you. It is Monday, the 11th of May of 2026. And for those of you who've been here for a while, I'm live quite a lot. I cover a lot of cases, and that means we're looking forward to Corey Richards' sentencing, which will be on May 13th. Okay, so mark that in your calendars. If you're watching from the future, then I hope you'll check that out at some point as well. So that's what's coming up this week as well. All right, so first what I want to do, before the whole presentation and everything, I want to show you this clip here because, oh man, this judge, she handed it to Paul Flores, right? I'm sure many of you know about this case. Let me know actually in chat. Do you know a lot about it? Have you followed it all these years? Do you only know a little bit? Have you never heard of it? I'd love to know as I play this for you. Okay, so check this out. This is when the judge, her name is Judge Jennifer O'Keefe, sentenced Paul Flores for the murder of Kristin Smart. This was on March 10th of 2023. This case takes place in California. And yeah, okay, let's just hear the statements. This was epic. Check this out.
Mr. Flores, you have been a cancer to society. In May 1996, you maliciously murdered Kristin Smart. You took advantage of her while she was in a vulnerable state. You volunteered to make sure she got home safely to her dormitory, only to take her life. For 25 years, you have lived free in the community, while Kristin's family has lived a nightmare. Your continued predatory behavior in the years that you were free, sexually assaulting women who were either drugged or intoxicated to the point where they could not consent. This predatory behavior has spanned your adult life. It is necessary to remove you from society so that you can no longer prey on and victimize women. You deserve to spend every day you have left behind bars. The defendant is statutorily ineligible for probation pursuant to Penal Code Section 1203E3, and probation will be denied. You are committed to the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation as to count 1, a violation of Penal Code Section 187A, murder in the first degree, to the maximum sentence that I can impose by law, an indeterminate term of 25 years to life.
Damn, and he was 44 years old when he was sentenced and 19 years old when he committed the crime. And as I say, it was a circumstantial case. I do love those cases because they are so challenging to prosecute. But witnesses that come forward, and that podcast I mentioned, which I'm going to show you about, that played a huge role in making sure that this case remains in the spotlight, that it doesn't stay a cold case. People came forward, it cracked open the case. Arrests were made, and now, why are we talking about this right now? Oh my word, just last week, it started on May 6th or so last week, new searches were conducted at his parents' homes. And the sheriff says that his mother is still very much a person of interest. And I'm like, oh my, his father was arrested too, but acquitted. Yeah, we're going to go over everything, so please don't worry. Oh, I see you guys have found the purple flower that I made in honor of Kristin Smart. Her favorite color was purple, so that's why I made that. Okay, now, before we get confused, let's do a little presentation, shall we? So that we all know we're on the same page and we know what this case is about and who it's about. Okay, so Kristin Smart, Kristin Denise Smart, her nickname was Roxy. So if you watch the Paul Flores police interview, they talk about Roxy the whole time. And, you know, some friends say Roxy. And at first I was like, who's Roxy? Oh, that was her nickname. Okay. Somebody says, when was he sentenced? Paul Flores was sentenced on March 10th of 2023. All right, so Kristin Denise Smart, nickname Roxy, was born February 20th of 1977 in Augsburg, Bavaria, West Germany, to Stan and Denise Smart. Her parents were both teachers working with children of U.S. military personnel stationed overseas. Kristin had one younger brother, Matt, and one younger sister, Lindsay. The family moved back to the United States when Kristin was still a child and settled in Stockton, California, where she grew up in a close-knit, loving household. She was tall, athletic, talented, and loved to travel, like really full of life, and her favorite color was purple. So thank you all for sharing the purple in the chat there. I see it. So there, maybe you recognize the case if you see her picture, right? Okay. She became fluent in Spanish after spending time in Venezuela, which I think is absolutely amazing. Like, as you guys know, I'm learning German, and I just don't find learning languages, a whole new language, easy. I'm doing it, okay? But the point is, damn, she went to Venezuela, and then she became fluent in Spanish. Whoa. Kristin was also a competitive swimmer on her high school team. She had a deep love for the ocean and the outdoors. She graduated from Lincoln High School in Stockton, California in June of 1995. And that same summer, she fulfilled what she called her dream job, which was working as a lifeguard and camp counselor at, and I need people from Hawaii to help me with that, Camp Mokulea? Is that right? In Hawaii? I'm so sorry if I said it wrong. I hope I said it okay. So that must have been absolutely wonderful, right? Wu-Tang Alex said, I'm still learning English. Me too. We're still trying to get fluent in snark, okay? Learn a whole new language. Okay, so in the fall of 1995, Kristin was 19 years old. She was a freshman at California Polytechnic State University, Cal Poly, in San Luis Obispo. She lived in Muir Hall on campus and was studying architecture. In May of 1996, by the end of her freshman year, most students had left the campus for the summer, so everyone was starting to make their way home. You know what I mean? They were starting to make their way home, and Kristin chose to stay a few extra days, and she was really looking forward to going home to visit her family and all of that, right? Okay, so there's a beautiful picture of her and a picture of the dormitory that she stayed in. Now, she was last seen May 25th of 1996. And so, on Friday, May 24th of 1996, Kristin attended an off-campus party on Crandall Way, a short walk from her dormitory. It was Memorial Day weekend. At approximately 2 a.m., so that would then be on May 25th of 1996, two friends, Cheryl Anderson and Tim Davis, found Kristin passed out on a neighbor's lawn near the party. Some people at the party said that she seemed a little bit intoxicated. You know, my gut feels already like, oh man, did someone spike her drink? Did someone spike her drink? Because they found later that he had a whole bunch of those types of substances in his house. We're going to get to that, don't you worry. Okay, so she was passed out on a neighbor's lawn near the party. They then helped her to her feet, and they all started walking back to their dorms. And lo and behold, Paul Flores, such a good guy, 19 years old, also a freshman student who stayed in the St. Lucia Hall, joined them, and he offered to take Kristin the rest of the way. Helpful, isn't he? Isn't he so helpful? My word. Okay. Tim Davis left the group first because he lived off campus in a different direction. So then it was Paul, Kristin, and Cheryl. And then Cheryl Anderson continued with Kristin and Paul until they reached the intersection of Perimeter Road and Grand Avenue. At that point, Cheryl then split off toward her own dorm, leaving Kristin alone with Paul Flores. Now, before people get snarky at Cheryl, she had checked. She said, "Are you sure?" Cheryl apparently had not had anything to drink at that party, and she was like, "Look, man, you just got to make sure that you take Kristin to the door, okay?" She trusted Paul. He seemed like a nice guy. Of course, he was now keeping her safe. He'll walk her straight to her door, he said. And Kristin was never seen again. And her body's never been found, which is actually really scary. Thank you so much, Marie. Veloy Marie. You said, hola, hola Grizzlies. Abrazos desde El Salvador. Thank you so much. My goodness, thanks for being a member for 48 months. Jenny Lynn says, sounds like a predator move to me. I know, right? Right? It's like, well, what a gentleman. What a good guy. Okay, so that was the last confirmed sighting of Kristin Smart. So this is what they say. Cheryl split off, leaving Kristin alone with Paul. Paul Flores and Kristin continued walking together toward the dorm area. Last time she was ever seen. Paul Flores said that he walked with Kristin up as far as the area near his dorm, and then she made her own way to her dorm. But like he just promised Cheryl and the other guy, don't worry, I'll walk her right to the door. Now suddenly saying, well, we got really close to my dormitory and she could just walk the rest of the way. So it's one of those where he claims that somebody else must have done something to her. Not him, right? I'm going to show you a map. I haven't seen too many episodes with maps. I need maps. We need to see like how far was all of this. So we're going to look at that quickly now. Deb said, justice for Kristin. Finally, snark suit on. Love this channel. G, the greatest community on YouTube. Grizzlies rule. Thank you so much. Thanks for being a member for 31 months. So he says he went to bed. Guys, he just went to bed. Okay, what do you mean? Let's quickly look at the map, shall we? Oh my. Original Map Time song. Yes, the OG one. Let me quickly show you this. Okay, hold on one second. What happened now to my presentation? Hold on one second. Yeah, I'm going to make it bigger for you. Okay, so we'll just... here's what we want to look at. Look at this. No, stop doing that. Don't click on that. Stop it. Hello. We don't want to do that. Okay. All right, there we go. Here's what we want to see. I really wanted to see, like, how far is this? What does this guy mean? Okay, so around this Crandall Way area there, this public record. Listen, YouTube, this case is 30 years old. This is, no one's being doxxed. This is just public information. I'm just sharing where Kristin was last seen. Okay? All right, so Crandall Way, this is where the party was. And apparently it was that Tim guy. He was the main host of the party, if I understood that correctly. Anyway, and close by on a neighbor's lawn, I don't know how close, maybe here, Kristin was found passed out on the lawn, and then Cheryl and Tim came out, and they're like, whoa, let's walk you to your dormitory, because they all lived around that area because, they're all students there, right? So this helps me to see it like this. Thank you, Lead Alive, for being a member for 38 months. So this helps me to see it because Crandall Way, and then walking along Campus Way, and then you could see if we go like this, look here comes South Perimeter Road. And if you keep going, here's Grand Avenue as well. So remember how they said that Tim first went in another direction to his house, and then Cheryl, when they got close to that Perimeter Road, she branched off to her dormitory, and you can see how close it is. It's a 0.6 mile walk in total. And that would be all the way to St. Lucia Hall, which is where Paul Flores was staying in his dormitory. And they found evidence in his dormitory as well. Pixie Dust said, thank you, G, for deep diving this case. Thank you all for being with me. Okay, thank you for being interested in deep diving this case with me. I find this case fascinating, and I'm telling you, man, we could sit here for days, for hours. There's so much to deep dive. There are so many interviews. There's so much in this case, but I'm going to try to give a good overview today as a start. So walking here, and then eventually, let's go from around here, walking alone. Okay, just Paul and Kristin. Now remember that Kristin stayed at this Muir Hall. I hope I said that right. And the St. Lucia Hall is where he stayed. So technically, If they were walking here, they could have just walked straight to her dormitory, right? But no, he says, so he's claiming they basically went like this way on South Perimeter Road to his dormitory. And then he told her, oh, it's fine, you could just make it to yours yourself, which, yes, you could see it's very close. You could see why he told the police that story, because this St. Lucia Hall is his dormitory. That's where he lived. And this Muir Hall is her dormitory. That's where she lived. Look how close it is. Right? But Kristin's roommate said she never made it home. Her bed was unslept in. She never made it home. So she was last seen somewhere between this Grand Avenue and South Perimeter Way, her dormitory and his dormitory, in this area, last seen. And prosecutors, who obviously he's convicted now, right? At the trial, it came out that they believe that he took Kristin to his dormitory and in an attempted sexual assault, when she fought back, that he killed her. Okay, that's what they believe happened and what he was convicted of, first-degree murder. Ruth Ann, thanks for being a member for 31 months. Also said, Ashley says, I'm wondering why the hell it took so long too. There was no direct evidence. This was a huge circumstantial case. This was very difficult to prosecute. It took prosecutors 11 weeks to put on their circumstantial evidence and 1 week for the defense, right? 12-week trial. Oh my word. Okay. So that is the map I wanted to show you. Also, while we're here, quickly, we'll show you that these properties, Paul Flores' parents' houses, have been searched multiple times. So on East Branch Street and somewhere here on White Court in this area, multiple times over the years. I mean, over the decades, including last week. That's what I find so interesting. This house somewhere around East Branch Street, I won't be specific here, of course not, but somewhere around East Branch Street, his mother's house was searched last week. And they think that they found evidence that there was the presence of human remains in the soil. So they didn't find Kristin's remains. They were hoping to recover something, but they've obviously taken a lot of soil and everything, and they're going to be testing that, but they are trying to prove that her body was there, okay, and that it was moved. And that is why the investigators side-eye Paul Flores' parents, because they're like, he must have had help somehow. Okay, so anyway, that's based on what the prosecutors say. Okay, I'm not falsely accusing anybody. No. All right, so we go back to our last scene, right? Yes, so we were here. The last confirmed sighting, the snippet there on the right is from a police interview that he did where he just, he had a black eye. Like in the following days, he was like, what? I got it from basketball, right? Sarah, Google and YouTube said, why are we talking about this case today? Because they did a search last week. And they're finding new evidence. And they're hoping to find Kristin Smart. At some point, the sheriff said there was a press conference recently on May 8th. Today's May 11th, so like 3 days ago. And the sheriff said that we are not going to stop until we find Kristin. Which I just think is amazing, right? Okay, so Kristin's roommate noticed the next day that her bed had not been slept in and her personal belongings, like her ID and her keys, were still in her room. She had no money with her. She didn't have a suitcase with her. They knew she was going to go home to her family, but they're like, this is weird. So that weekend, friends initially assumed that Kristin had just maybe gone home early or was staying with someone else. They weren't too sure what to make of it. But by May 27th of 1996, friends reported Kristin missing to campus police. And they were a little slow on the uptake, so there is a new law that was introduced in 1998 in Kristin Smart's name, and it was so that campus police can coordinate with local police more efficiently. So, May 28th of 1996, the San Luis Obispo County Sheriff's Office took over the case as a full missing person investigation. And look at that flyer, like a vintage flyer. Damn, look at that. Wanted by the San Luis Obispo County Sheriff, $5,000 reward. Right now, the reward is at $75,000. The tip lines are still open. You can still, I'll put all the details in the description box as well. So if you know anything and you haven't said anything for 30 years, please do so now. And it's never too late, because there was that podcast which is called Your Own Backyard, okay? And that podcast started covering the story. And people were like, why are you talking about it now? Well, that podcast and the podcast owner made this case go from cold case to an arrest, from cold case to witnesses coming forward, from cold case to, pressure on law enforcement. It made a massive impact. So I just think there's a lot of power in social media, especially if used correctly. So if anybody knows anything and you haven't yet called it in, please do. Please do. Okay. So, yes. Okay, we've gone over this timeline. Shame. There's another picture of her. So beautiful. Teresa said, I hope people come forward if they know something. Now look at this. In the 1990s to 2000s, there were multiple searches of the Flores family. So it's Paul and his parents, right? His dad is Ruben, his mother's Susan. And there's also multiple interviews that you can find on YouTube of them, talking to the media. Anyway, so multiple searches of the Flores family properties in Arroyo Grande using cadaver dogs and ground penetrating radar. A few months after Kristin's disappearance, Mary Lassiter, a tenant renting Susan Flores' Arroyo Grande, please tell me if I'm saying it wrong. It's like Dr. Grande. Arroyo Grande home on East Branch Street found a turquoise earring in the driveway or back patio area, and Mary felt like this resembled an earring that Kristin was wearing when she went missing. So I don't know if it's from this set. This is a necklace with like a turquoise something on it. And they say she used to wear this matching set, right? And so, this tenant was like, look at this earring. This is her earring. And unfortunately, yes, Mary contacted investigators. But the earring was misplaced by law enforcement before it was properly photographed, tested, or entered into evidence. Oh, that is so sad. Okay, so it is Grande. Grande. Yeah, like Ariana Grande, like Dr. Grande. Thank you so much, everyone. All right. So Kristin was declared legally dead on May 25th of 2002, 6 years after she was last seen. And there were a lot of wrongful death lawsuits and civil suits and things flying over the years as well. I didn't include that in this overview today. Okay, so 2019 to 2020, the podcast, Your Own Backyard by Chris Lambert, generated new witnesses and public pressure, which led to renewed tips and new search warrants. I'm yet to listen to all of that. I want to listen to all of it. Lily Berry, thank you so much for your $10 sticker. So let me show you this. Hold on one second. Look at it. There's a lot of episodes here. There's how many? Wait, a brief update. 10, 11, about 12-ish episodes to listen to. Oh, we got homework, you guys. We have so much homework. Your Own Backyard by Chris Lambert, right? Oh my, okay, so that's an amazing, I'm so proud. Okay, so generated new witnesses, public pressure, which led to renewed tips and new search warrants, which then led to two arrests actually. 2020 to 2021, new witness testimony emerged, including claims that Paul Flores allegedly confessed or made incriminating statements. Searches of Paul's home in San Pedro, items of interest recovered, including possible roofie drugs. Oh my, okay. There was excavation happening at Ruben, that's his dad, Ruben Flores' Arroyo Grande home, Paul's father. Cadaver dogs alerted. What? They said ground penetrating radar suggested a possible burial site under a deck that appeared to have been disturbed and later moved. So the allegation or the suspicion is that Kristin's body has been moved multiple times over the years. Ooh, that's very, very shady, very sneaky. And I do hope that if anybody helped Paul Flores, that they will be held fully accountable and that she'll be found one day, right? Okay. Melissa said, yes, I've never heard of this podcast, so I'll do my homework. We have so much homework to do. I can't even. It's like Mount Everest. But it makes sense. You know why? Because the case is there's only 30 years of coverage to catch up on, okay? Right? Okay. So, and you can see now the reward is at $75,000. And you can see here, Your Own Backyard podcast.com. I think they sponsored some of these billboards and they raised funds and everything. They made a huge difference, right? So, wow. To actually see that happen must have been amazing at the time. My goodness, to have the podcast and it's like talking about this cold case and then there's some movement, there's momentum, there's new search warrants, there's arrests. For 25 years before his arrest, Paul Flores was the prime person of interest in the investigation into Kristin's disappearance. the number one suspect. They were like, bro, we're looking at you at all times. We're watching you. We're coming for you. 25 years before he was arrested. He was interviewed multiple times by the police. He was arrested on April 13th of 2021. He was 44 years old and charged with a first-degree murder of Kristin Smart. Specifically, murder committed during an attempted sexual assault. It's very interesting they were able to convict him on that, to be able to prove that. And how did they do that? Showing a pattern of behavior, which we'll get to. His father, Paul Flores, pictured on the right, 80 years old, was also arrested on the same day, April 13th of 2021. Whoa, and he was charged as an accessory after the fact. He was accused of helping conceal or move Kristin's body. And he was acquitted. Yeah. So during a February 2020 search, trigger warning, this is now discussing SA. During a February 2020 search of Paul Flores' home, this is a picture of him younger, right? In San Pedro. Investigators found homemade videos on his computer. Oh, not even Uncle Google's gonna get you. Your own damn computer collection's gonna get you. Okay, he had this collection on his computer in a folder labeled Practice. Stop it. Showing Paul Flores sexually assaulting women who appear intoxicated, drifting in and out of consciousness, or some of them unconscious. That's the type of content he kept like a dumbass on his own computer. Good job for being a dumbass. And they were like, okay, electronic search warrant, here we go. That must have been like, oh my word, which again, that's why it can show the pattern of behavior, right? So prescription medications that can be used as date rape drugs were found, like tramadol and Flexeril. A red ball gag was shown in one video image which matched descriptions from other victims. Oh, and there was an explicit collection, like a corn collection, with titles like Real Drunken Girls Drugged and Essayed While Passed Out. Oh my word, that was his thing. That is so disgusting, right? So, with Kristin being intoxicated, passed out on the lawn, which I still suspect that if she had a spiked drink, you know what I mean? Anyway, either way, she was at a party, she was intoxicated on the lawn. Oh, well, here we have a predator. So I can totally understand why from day one they were like, yeah, looking at this guy, and they didn't even know all that at that time yet. Now, he was the last person seen with Kristin, which was confirmed by multiple witnesses. Cadaver dogs alerted strongly in his dorm room, his mattress and bedding. He had a black eye and scratches noticed in the days following May 25th of 1996. He said he got it from basketball, okay? But then he said, when they're like, when did you play basketball? Who did you play with? They interviewed the people that he said he played with, and they're like, no, we never did. Ugh, what a dumbass, this guy. So he made several inconsistent statements about the evening. And guess what? He transferred to a different college shortly after Kristin disappeared. Oh. He was evasive in later interviews, and he invoked the Fifth Amendment in civil depositions. And it wasn't like no comment. He said the whole damn sentence, if you've seen it before, right? Okay, after this presentation, don't worry, we've got lots and lots of clips to look at, okay? I know I'm talking a lot, but we've got lots of clips to look at right after this. I just want to make sure that we all know the timeline, the overview of this case, right? So that we know, well, what's happening now? What's happening now in May of 2026? So, on October 18th of 2022, Paul Flores was convicted of first-degree murder, even though Kristin's remains have never been found, and specifically, murder during the commission of an attempted SA, though the SA charge itself was past the statute of limitations. At his trial, 2 women testified that Paul Flores SA'd them in 2008 and 2011. I think those are some of the witnesses that may have listened to the podcast and come forward, you know what I mean? Which made a huge difference. As you know, if you watched the Tanner Horner trial with me, when cousin Billy came forward, oh man, oh my. Yeah, things like that can really just take it from 0 to absolutely convicted in no time, right? It's not everything, but it adds weight to it, especially for the jury, right? So prosecutors used the videos and testimony as pattern evidence to show that Paul had a propensity for essaying intoxicated women, supporting the theory that Kristin was killed during an attempted essay. Yeah. Copper Horse says there's always more. Yeah, you're also wondering how many other victims there might be, right? I can't imagine. Okay, here's a quick trial recap, like really quick, one slide. His trial lasted 3 months, 12 weeks, 11 weeks for the prosecutors, 1 week for the defense. Paul and his father were tried together, but with separate juries, special arrangement. Reuben, his father, was acquitted. Paul did not take the stand in his own defense. The jury deliberated over 4 days, and then they found him guilty on October 18th of 2022. His conviction stood on circumstantial evidence. There was no body, no DNA, no confession, but a strong web of last seen evidence, cadaver dog alerts, patterns of behavior testimony, and new witness accounts. On March 10th of 2023, he was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison and will not be eligible for parole until at least 2047, which I know, it's not enough, right? It's not enough. Ooh, and some people, lawyers in California will say, he's probably going to get out before that. Before the 25 years. Oh, man. Also, the judge called him a cancer to society during sentencing, that's the first clip I showed you today. So if you missed it, go check out the beginning, right? Later. And so he's currently housed in the California State Prison. You know why? Because he was moved from Pleasant Valley State Prison after being stabbed. He was shanked twice by other inmates in his first year in prison. Oh, they're going to get him. Yeah, he definitely was moved for his own safety. Okay, so this investigation, by the way, is still active, which is what I think makes this case so interesting. All the elements that we talk about is like, whoa, they've never found Kristin's remains and they're still looking for her. Active investigation. But yet here we've got this guy that's fully convicted, and yet the investigators are still side-eyeing the parents and still searching the parents' houses over and over. Wow. Okay, so the search for Kristin's remains is ongoing. For nearly 30 years, investigators have focused heavily on properties connected to Paul Flores and his parents, Susan and Reuben Flores. Despite dozens of searches using cadaver dogs, ground-penetrating radar, soil sampling, and excavation, Kristin Smart's remains have never been recovered. Not yet. Never too late. Multiple search warrants have been carried out at their homes, over there, so many. In early 2021, cadaver dogs alerted strongly under the backyard deck at Reuben Flores' house, and GPR showed a large anomaly consistent with a burial site. Soil samples later tested positive for human blood, and prosecutors argued that Kristin's body had been buried there and later moved. So yeah, if her body was buried there, or a body was buried there and moved, who moved it? Does anyone know anything else? Did they want to say something? Janet Murphy said someone knows something. That's what I'm saying. Somebody knows something. New searches. That's why we're talking about this today. May 6th of 2026, a 3-day search of Susan Flores' home was done. The killer's mother, her home. Oh, investigators use, again, ground-penetrating radar, soil vapor sampling, and forensic soil analysis by scientists specializing in human decomposition. On May 8th of 2026, soil testing returned positive results consistent with human decomposition, indicating that human remains may have once been present at that time, just a few days ago they said, or could still be present, but they did a whole search, excavation, dig everything, and they didn't find Kristin's remains, right? So the on-site search has concluded, but detectives are now in the lab analysis phase. They are thoroughly evaluating all soil samples, evidence collected, and data from ground-penetrating radar. The sheriff's office has stated the investigation remains fully active and wide open until Kristin is found. That's amazing. Sheriff Parkinson said, "We have not recovered Kristin yet, but our search goes on. It will continue until we absolutely have nowhere to go." I'll show you some of that press conference as well that just happened. So this is the San Luis Obispo County Sheriff's Office. They posted this, it says yesterday. The sheriff's, it was on May 10th. The Sheriff's Office has issued a press release regarding an update to the search warrant in Arroyo Grande. The Sheriff's Office has concluded its search at the property of Susan Flores, located in the 500 block of East Branch Street in Arroyo Grande. We did not recover Kristin Smart. Detectives will be evaluating any evidence we have recovered to aid in the investigation. The Sheriff's Office remains fully committed to finding Kristin and bringing her home to her family. No further information is available. This time, the Sheriff's Office will not be making any additional comments or providing further updates regarding this investigation. But it's active and ongoing, and they're still executing search warrants today. You know what I mean? Like present time, like it was from last week, but you know what I mean? Whoa, 30 years later. A statement from the Smart family posted May 8th on the Justice for Kristin Facebook group. They said, "We remain hopeful that this current search will be successful and look forward to the outcome. Our family greatly appreciates the efforts, the dedication, the commitment of Sheriff Ian Parkinson, Detective Clint Cole, the San Luis Obispo Sheriff's Department, and the technical experts assisting with the execution of the search. Finally, we continue to feel the tremendous support of the local community and all the people far beyond the Central Coast to provide us with great strength to continue this journey to bring Kristin home." I feel like we, the Grizzly True Crime community, oh man, we started to talk about this case really late. But you know what? Sometimes we can be the Gatorade. You know what I mean? I say that sometimes because we can be like the energy boost. Just to cheer them on. Don't give up. You can do it. I'm so proud of the investigators, the podcasts that were involved, everything. And I just really hope that they will find Kristin Smart's remains, and that there will be those answers. Oh, and that people will be held accountable if they know something. Are we going to see some more arrests? Who's getting cuffed, right? Okay. This is the Kristin Smart Campus Security Act I referenced earlier. In 1998, Kristin's parents, Stan and Denise Smart, worked with California lawmakers to ensure missing persons reports would never be delayed again on college campuses. The law applies to all public colleges, universities, and community colleges in California. It's a law that has improved coordination between campus and local police across California and helped protect countless other students. So people take it seriously. If they say they're missing, they don't just say, oh, well, maybe they went off on their own or they went home or whatever it is, right? Just Kim 55 said, better late than never. I know, right? Deb said, Grizzly's got the family's back. Yes. And you guys are sharing lighthouses. Absolutely. So, Your Own Backyard podcast. This is it. Your Own Backyard. Go listen to it. Okay, support Chris Lambert and the work that he's done on this case. My goodness. So, in September of 2019 is when this started. A local musician and podcaster, Chris Lambert, who grew up in the Arroyo Grande and San Luis Obispo area, launched an independent documentary podcast called Your Own Backyard. At the time, Kristin Smart's case had been largely a cold case for over 23 years. So that's amazing that he just you know what, I'm going to cover this case. And I'm not just going to cover it, I'm going to deep dive it. Ooh, I like that. Selena Martinez said, I can't believe the parents can live with themselves. Well, unless they know nothing, right? Interesting. If they know something, then yeah. Okay. So, public attention had faded, and many people assumed it would just never be solved. This podcast renewed public attention, helped facilitate new witnesses to come forward to law enforcement, put pressure on law enforcement to keep investigating the case, and contributed to new search warrants. This eventually led to the arrests of Paul and Ruben Flores. Sheriff Parkinson said, "The podcast that Chris put together is very well done. It did produce some information that I believe was valuable," which, whoa, coming from the sheriff, that's a huge, huge compliment, right? So if you have any information, that's the tip line to contact. I've also put all the information in the description box below. All right, so now I want to show you the clips of these recent searches, right? Look at this.
It's what we can prove.
The sheriff's office got a new search warrant for Susan Flores' home this week, thanks to a judge believing there was fresh and relevant reasons to search the home.
Anytime investigators want to obtain a search warrant, they have to themselves be convinced that the area that they want to search is likely to produce evidence of a crime that they believe has been committed.
The current search warrant for Susan Flores' home prevents her from re-entering the home until the search is over and gives the sheriff's office access to the entirety of the home and part of a neighbor's yard. However, with the current search warrant, they're unable to break ground. Sheriff Parkinson says the common misconception about search warrants is that they can do whatever they want.
People always ask, well, why did in 96 they just tear up all the concrete? Well, that's not the way a warrant works.
District Attorney Dan Dow says specific criteria are needed for each search warrant. However, investigators don't need to start over every time.
In any investigation, one step leads to the next step. In fact, we often call those piggyback warrants, because you have an initial warrant that allows you to look at something, and then you obtain information that says, you know what, now I want to do it over here.
Parkinson says with their new leads, they'll be filing for as many search warrants as needed to be content with the search.
We're prepared to go as long as it takes until we either find Kristin, find evidence, and are satisfied that everything has been searched.
In Arroyo Grande.
Oh, damn. Okay. So, see, they're determined to keep going, keep getting their search warrants, keep doing what they got to do, because they believe that Kristin is somewhere on one of the Flores' properties. Someone asked, is the dad still alive? As in Paul Flores' dad, Ruben? Yes, from everything I found, he's still alive. He's in his mid-80s. He was acquitted, remember? That was in October of 2022. Okay, he was charged with accessory after the fact. Okay, so here's another one.
Tonight with shocking new developments in the years-long search for Kristin Smart. The San Luis Obispo County Sheriff's Office says it has concluded its search at Susan Flores' home in Arroyo Grande. Officials say they did not recover Kristin Smart. Susan Flores were seen returning to the home at approximately 4:25 p.m., just over an hour since officials announced the end of their search. Detectives are planning to all evaluate evidence recovered for the investigation. The Sheriff's Office says they are still committed to finding Kristin and bringing her home to her family. Officials say they are not providing additional updates about the investigation. Community reporter Michaela Richardson was at the home today, and before the search concluded, she said she heard drilling and sounds of a shovel coming from the western side of the house. She also told us Ruben Flores was seen driving by the house at least once.
Ruben Flores seen driving by the house. Okay, the clip is just ending right there.
Once.
That's it. It just ends right there. Mamushka says, it sounds like the sheriff's office is very determined. I really hope they find her remains and return her to her family. Right? Melissa says, acquitted doesn't mean innocent. You hear that? You hear that, Ruben? Okay, so here's another one. Oh, yeah. Okay, wait. Oh, yeah. Wait, let me just see what this is. Oh, this is the collection. This is a video where they show some of the evidence that was shown at the trial. The Paul Flores trial, right?
Is there anything else that you've told us that you didn't think was a big deal?
No.
That you haven't told us the truth?
No.
How do we know that?
Take my word for it.
That's Paul Flores during an interview at the Arroyo Grande Police Department on June 19th, 1996. Former DA investigator William Hanley on the left, and on the right, his partner Larry Hobson. In that conversation, Paul was questioned many times on how he got a black eye.
Why was it so hard for you to tell us that you got that black eye hitting the steering wheel?
It didn't really matter.
What do you mean it didn't matter?
It was days later, so why would it?
If it didn't matter, then why did you lie about it?
Well, it doesn't matter if I leave out little details.
This 48-minute...
He says he tells them, well, it's just little white lies. Didn't really matter. It was days later, right? Just like days after when I got a black eye. They're like, bro, like what the hell?
Video is one of the many items just released by the Monterey County Superior Courthouse following Paul and Ruben Flores' a month-long trial.
You're not acknowledging any of this ever happened. And yet all these other people are telling us it did happen.
I guess I had a black eye at that time then.
The trial evidence includes photos of Chris.
He says, I guess I blacked out then. Whoops. Really? Convenient, hey? Oh, now you just don't remember at all. All right.
Kristin Smart's belongings found in her dorm, a handwritten letter from Denise Smart to her daughter in 1996, and the dirt samples taken from Ruben Flores' home on White Court in Arroyo Grande.
The other thing I need you to do is to start listening to the podcast. I need you to listen to everything they say so we could punch holes in it. Wherever we can punch holes, maybe we can't. You're the one that can tell me.
That was a wiretap of a phone call between Paul and his mother, Susan Flores, on January 26, 2020.
Ooh, a wiretap, everyone. Like Donna Adelson. The bump. Oh, okay. You want to hear it again? Look at it. Start
listening to the podcast. I need you to listen to everything they say so we could punch holes in it.
Oh, ma'am, it's not looking good for you. Stop saying that to your son, who was obviously sitting in jail, you know what I mean, waiting to go to trial. Listen, son, we have to start listening to these podcasts. Start punching holes in whatever they've got there. Okay.
Wherever we can punch holes, maybe we can't. You're the one that can tell me.
That was a wiretap of a phone call between Paul and his mother, Susan Flores, on January 26, 2020. It was played in court during the trial, but due to limitations by the judge, only still photography was allowed, meaning only those in the courtroom could hear the interview firsthand. There is also audio from May 19, 2021, when San Luis Obispo County Sheriff's Detective Clint Cole collected DNA samples from Ruben Flores, Susan Flores, and her boyfriend.
There's Ruben.
Well, they haven't committed no felonies.
I can't respond. I can't respond.
I mean, I'm only the one who's been arrested.
And an initial interview with Paul Flores and Cal Poly Police on May 30th, 1996.
What did she say? Do you remember any of the conversations you had walking up the hill?
No, she just said she was, the only thing I remember is she was saying she was freezing. That's
okay. Was there any talk of, get together and of that nature?
Nothing at all.
Paul Flores is currently in custody at the San Luis Obispo.
Well, he was convicted then, right? Okay. I could show you that a little bit after. What is this one? He was sentenced. We saw that, right? Wait.
And before sentencing Paul Flores today, the judge called the 46-year-old a cancer to society, adding that he deserves to have...
These are some clips of Kristin's parents after Paul Flores was convicted, okay, and sentenced.
Every day that he has left behind bars.
It's a sentence, but it doesn't bring back your loved one. So from that aspect, we don't have closure.
Speaking before Friday's sentencing, Kristin Smart's mother told the court that life can give you no greater pain than the loss of a child, adding that what Paul Flores stole from her family can never be replaced.
Today is a day not really of joy, it's a day of relief that Kristin's voice was heard.
Paul Flores, who...
Shame. And they're all wearing purple, you see? Purple was her favorite color. Look there. Look at all the purple, the ties, the tops, the necklace, everything. So nice. Okay.
Paul Flores, who also attended Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, was the last known person to see Kristin Smart alive, walking back to her dorm, when the 19-year-old college freshman went missing back in May 1996, leading to a massive manhunt. More than a quarter century later, a judge sentenced the 46-year-old to 25 years to life in prison for the murder of Smart, whose body has never been found, despite intense searches in several locations. Smart was declared legally dead in 2002. In 2011, newly elected Sheriff Ian Parkinson requested a review of the evidence in the cold case, which turned up new leads beginning in late 2016.
We discovered additional evidence that confirmed that Paul was the suspect in the disappearance. In 2019, we interviewed several witnesses that had not been previously interviewed.
That led to investigators monitoring Paul Flores' cell phone activity. In 2020, search
Google's gonna get you.
Warrants were served at his home, as well as his father Ruben's, ultimately leading to both of their arrests. Last year, Paul Flores was found guilty of first-degree murder, while 81-year-old Ruben Flores was acquitted of being an accessory. And according to the prosecutor in this case, under California law, Paul Flores will be eligible for parole in 15 years' time.
Damn it. Okay, and I want to show you this one. Okay, this is the press conference that happened from May 8th of 2026. So it's the most recent press conference, okay? Now, I'm not going to show you the whole one. I will link the entire press conference because it's 54 minutes long. And the first 14 minutes is where the sheriff gives details of why they were doing this new search and everything. And the rest is just the Q&A, right? So if you want to watch all of that, I would recommend it. I will link it for you in the description box. I will also link Your Own Backyard podcast in the description box for you as well, so it'll be easy to find. Okay, let's have a listen here what the sheriff said on this day.
Don't know. I appreciate you being here. I'm going to try to give you some update, but there's a lot of information that I cannot share with you, and certainly at some point I will explain some of the reasons why. But I want to give you a little, I want to back up and give you a little bit of background before we begin on what's going on today. So I mentioned that I began in 2011. Well, when Kristin went missing in 1996, I was a police officer at the city of San Luis, so I was well aware of Kristin's disappearance. It was pretty big news, pretty frightening to the community. But I never met the Smarts. I knew no details of the case whatsoever until I met with the Smarts in 2009. The investigative supervisor at the DA's office asked me to meet with the Smart family, and that is what I did. It was Denise and Stan Smart. We met really over coffee, and I was campaigning. They had seen my name, they had seen my challenger's name, and they wanted to talk to me about Kristin's case. They had a lot of disappointment, as you can well imagine, with the loss of their daughter, and didn't feel that the case had moved forward at all. They asked me probably a fair amount of questions about where I planned to take it, what my thoughts were, and what I explained to them is unchanged to today, and that is we solve cases through witnesses and evidence. It takes one or both of those in order to solve the case. Well, by that time, in 2009-10, probably a good 12 years had passed since Kristin went missing. The sheriff's office at the time had flagged all kinds of different leads and information looking for witnesses, and really a lot of that had run dry. We were getting kind of some of the old stories kind of replayed. But when I took office in 2011, what we did have is we'd had physical evidence. So we put together 3 teams. We had the FBI, we had our forensic people, and we had the Department of Justice, and they pulled out every single piece of seized evidence and went through it all. This case was very challenging from the very beginning because, as you may recall, if you know, the suspect, Paul Flores, had moved out of the dorm. The dorm room had been cleaned, so you're missing physical evidence, and it's you don't recreate that. You can't find it. You can find what you have. So we moved forward. I'm going to fast forward a bit. So I inherited the case when I was 14 years old, and have had it for half of its life. When we began, we did not have a dedicated detective that could work the case, but several years later, I was able to obtain what we called an unsolved cold case detective, and that'd be Detective Clint Cole. Clint, his tenacity, the Bureau's quality of investigators, I'm not bragging when I say I think they're amazing investigators that have done a phenomenal job. This led to, obviously, Paul and Ruben's arrest several years ago. The jury convicted Paul of murder. He got sentenced to 25 years to life. During one of the post-operation or post-conviction press conferences, I had already told the Smarts, Stan and Denise, and their two other children and their families that it wasn't a finality for us. The case was not over. The reality was Kristin was still missing. Yes, there was some satisfaction with the family for justice, but these things, they never close. They give some peace, but peace would never be had until we recovered Kristin. So,
which makes total sense, right? I mean, okay, there's a conviction, sentence, all that, but where is Kristin? Her family, of course, would want her to be found. I really hope that she will be.
I vowed to them again that we would not give up the search for Kristin's remains, and it was my goal to bring Kristin home. Since that time, we've continued to work on the case. We've continued to search locations throughout probably the last couple years, and that's what led us to this past Wednesday. The detectives, Clint Cole, obtained a search warrant based on investigative leads and evidence to...
Investigative leads and evidence. That's what brought about this new search warrant just the other day, May 6th of 2026.
Return to the Branch Street address of Susan Flores. That location has been searched twice before, at least. Officially, back in '96, search warrant was obtained by the sheriff's office then. They did not locate anything. And so we're going to talk about this slightly, but I'll kind of segue to this for 1 second. Back in '96, they used ground penetrating radar, also known as GPR, in order to check all locations on the ground. The GPR from 30 years ago is not the GPR today. It's come, as you imagine, like everything advances, our cell phones or computers, so does the science.
Right, so the technology is improved, vastly improved. So now I think that would also be, of course, why they're like, let's go back and do it again. Maybe this time they can get positive results, you know, for to find Kristin. Evergreen, is it green? 222, thank you so much for your sticker.
So you know that we had GPR out there during the search. It's the same GPR and operator that we used at Ruben's house, where we located what we believe was a location that Kristin was at one time. The issue is you know, where is Kristin? And for those that have followed it and know the case, it's been a roller coaster. There's always ups, and you think you're onto something, and then it drops to nothing. That's the way the case is, and that's not unusual for cases, but this one in particular, I remember speaking to our investigative team at one point, just saying we don't seem to ever get a break. Every time we think we have something, it collapses. I think we finally hit the high when we found the burial site at Ruben's house, but it didn't give us the answer that we were still seeking, is where is Kristin? And so that's why the search continued. I'll only mention that two things. I mentioned GPR already. It was visible for the media. It's all over the news that they were doing it, so there was no secret we were using GPR. We also are conducting soil tests, and that's kind of the scientific part. I'm not going to go into the details other than just to say with soil tests, it's about the compounds in the soil that are related to a human decomposing body. And so that is what you saw or may have seen with the canisters collecting it. The way these warrants work, just like Ruben's, as you may recall, a judge believes that we have probable cause to go look for either either Kristin or the remains of Kristin. And once we satisfy that, then it becomes a slow, methodical search. We made the agreement that internally that we are not leaving that house until we are sure that we have checked everything. And when I say everything is what is reasonable.
Yeah. Okay, everything with what's reasonable and with what the search warrants allow, which they like, we'll get more. Yeah, rip it apart. No, I just mean look everywhere that you need to look, right? Oh my, okay. Yeah, you guys are saying your own backyard podcast. There you go, Deb. Homework for Grizzlies. That's it. We'll show it again. There it is. Chris Lambert, your own backyard. This is the podcast that really, you know, reinvigorated the case from a cold case to, hey, pay attention to this. And then witnesses came forward and one thing led to the next and there were arrests made, you know? Okay, so sorry, we were still here. We just got a few minutes left here.
We can't go to somebody's house regardless of what we might believe and tear up the entire house. We have to base it on next step sciences, and that's exactly what we did in Ruben's house. That's exactly what we're doing now. So the question is I think it's safe to say that we have not recovered Kristin yet. But our search goes on, and I don't know how long we're going to be there. The warrant that we obtained what's called, that we refer to as a kick-out warrant. It means the occupants of the residence, once we serve it, have to...
Oh my, kick-out warrant. Listen, Susan, respectfully, get your ass out of here.
...to depart and cannot return to the residence. It's not unusual. You can imagine that you don't want somebody that could be a suspect in a case or who might have access to evidence destroying that once we're there, but also we don't have the ability to babysit them and basically hold them in their house, restrict them from going anywhere. So that's not uncommon. So that's what we did in this case. Susan won't be able to return until we have completed our search. Don't know if it's going to conclude today. As I mentioned, it's a methodical step each time. We get something, we go in another direction. We get something, we pursue that. And so it is, until we're done, and we plan to be there until we can walk away, either finding Kristin or all the evidence we can find and moving to the next step. I'll tell you one other thing that has been my mind.
And what's the next step, Mr. Sheriff Man? We're talking about arrests, aren't we? Can you imagine? We might see it. I don't know. Sometimes, I mean, I listen to my gut, right? You gotta trust your gut. I don't know. I just feel so excited about this case. I really feel like, oh my word, something is going to happen. Like they're going to find Kristin. We're going to see handcuffs coming out. You know, it's 30 years later, but I think it's so possible. And I don't know. Just in my gut, I feel like I got a good feeling about this case. That would just be amazing.
Mantra with Stan and Denise Smart, and I have a very good relationship with them. I speak to them all the time. I told them at the very beginning of the case, when I came into office, that I would communicate with them. They could call me anytime, that I wanted to share what I could, but just like with you, I can't share everything. We have to protect the integrity of the case. And I think sometimes people don't fully understand that. If I let out information that could jeopardize a next step or our next direction, that would be damaging.
Sir, we understand, but we're going to demand information anyway. Give us all the tea. What are you finding there, huh?
My relationship with the Smarts is I will tell you in advance so there's no surprises that we're doing something. In some cases, I can be specific that we're going to a location. In others, it's fairly vague until we're actually there. You guys do obviously a tremendous job of finding where we are and knowing our location and knowing what we're up to. You know that neighborhood on Branch Street. I am quite convinced that many people in that neighborhood were calling the moment we pulled up in front of that house. Totally understandable. But we still have to make sure that anything we're pursuing is not tainted or is getting out before it needs to go out where it's going to damage the future of the case. That goes for locations that we've searched before. What we don't know, and probably a simple analogy for that, is if we go and talk to a witness today and that witness says they saw nothing, they looked away when it all happened, and then we find out a week later that was not true. They had told people that they witnessed everything. So just because somebody was interviewed, just because a location was searched, does not mean that we have checked it off our box. We have a very large county with many rural parts to it, and as you can imagine, for those who are around, probably now, a dozen years ago, 10, 12 years ago, we searched the hillside outside of Cal Poly where the Big P was. That took tremendous amount of work, and we barely hit that full hillside. I mean, it was probably an eighth of that hill that we hit, based on scientific evidence that put us there. So I think when it comes to divulging certain things, I can't divulge. But understand that I have the same relationship with the family.
I understand, right? Of course we understand. It's just, man, one gets curious, huh? What do you find there? What's happening next?
I think the problem with this case from the very beginning was most people that had read the case believed they knew about the case. It was always, their feeling was always based on belief. And as I repeated to the Smarts many times, it's not what we believe, it's what we can prove. And that's our justice system, and that's why I think our justice system is sound. People shouldn't want law enforcement arresting somebody on a belief. There should be proof to it. So that's what makes it hard for everybody saying, I want this, I want to see that. Branch Street has come up from the very beginning as a location. But when it's been searched already, we have to have new evidence in order to go back. A judge just doesn't say, well, yeah, you had the warrant, you didn't feel a thorough enough job was done back then. It's not fresh information. The information in the search warrant has to be fresh, relevant, and have the threshold of probable cause. So that's what we pursued. That's why we're there today. We arrived just before 7 on Wednesday to serve the search warrant, and we're prepared to go as long as it takes until we either find Kristin, find evidence, and are satisfied that everything has been searched.
That was it.
Okay.
So now the sheriff opened it up to questions, and that's the rest of the press conference, and we've listened to 14 and a half minutes, and it's 54 minutes long. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to link this for you if you want to go hear the Q&A, right? From this May 8th, 2026 press conference, which is just amazing to see a press conference happening now. But did I already read this to you? I already read that to you. Okay, cool. We looked at the map time. This is Your Own Backyard Podcast. They've also got a website called yourownbackyardpodcast.com. So, you know, if I put the Spotify playlist, maybe you listen to it on other, like Apple Podcasts or somewhere else, right? So I would go to the website if I were you, yourownbackyardpodcast.com. And then all the episodes are there, as you can see, right? So I'll link it for you in the description box so that you could find it easily. You could also just ask Uncle Google, Auntie Safari, or whoever you ask, Claude, Gemini, Grok, ChatGPT, hey, can you just give me a link to this podcast, okay? And then you should find it, Your Own Backyard Podcast. The podcast that made a huge difference in this case, which was a cold case, and then suddenly, boom, there were arrests. Okay, did I show you everything? The other thing I wanted to show you, but it's just getting a little lengthy now, right, is this jail interview. Sorry, police interview, not jail interview, of this guy, Paul Flores, in June of 1996. So I'll show you a snippet, look.
The way she's dressed. She's got a little tank top, half t-shirt, skin tight, black vinyl shorts, you know, and she's half naked. It's like wearing a bathing suit. Anyway, you reach out and you give her a good manly hug like Bill or I would do, okay?
Look at him listening.
And then you'd walk a little more and she'd complain about.
It's like he's enjoying the story, but they're just, you know, leading him down a path of this is what we think you did. So I'll link this for you as well, if you want to listen to that as well. Otherwise, so we're going to be here for hours. If I cover everything that I want to cover right now, right here and now, we'll be here for hours. It'll be like a trial day, which I know we don't mind that. But, you know, for replay watchers, for people to get into the case, for people to share the case, for us to follow, I just want to make the first episode at least not too long. We could always talk about it another time. Leave your comments below. Tell me if there's something else you want me to follow up with, you know. Maybe we could watch the police interview together from then, or whatever else it is. Stefan said his arrogant attitude. Yes. Oh yes. I mean, wow. Some of you, I'm sure you've seen that police interview many times or over the years. For some of us, for me it was the first time, and I'm like, oh my word, snarking all the way, aren't we? So I really hope that Kristin Smart will be found. I really hope that, you know, that wish of her parents can come true, that she can be found. They're like, it's all good and well that someone's been sentenced. Great, but like, where's Kristin? You know? And again, I say that people will be held accountable if they need to be held accountable. I'm, again, very proud of the sheriff, the podcast, everybody that shared this case over the years. I mean, 30 years later, everyone's still talking about it, which is just amazing. Thank you so much again to all of you who recommended that I covered this. You can email me, grizzlytruecrime@gmail.com, if you have other cases that you want to recommend or want me to cover. I read all my emails. I certainly can't reply to all of them. I'm so sorry about that. So otherwise I just spend all day replying to emails, and I want to just get to work, you know what I mean? So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, mods. I really appreciate everything you do. And I will see you again very soon. Most certainly we'll be together for Corey Richards' sentencing. I'm sure I'll see you tomorrow, right? There's always lots of things to talk about. So, in the meantime, wishing you a wonderful evening ahead. Stay safe.